Yashodanandana Jaya Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Jaya Vraja Janaranjana Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Radhita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Radhita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Shri Radha Madhava Ki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and please also give me the Bhagavad Gita in English. We're reading from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, continuing the fourth canto, chapter 5, verse number 9. Okay, I thought it was going to be 10. So, bitte? 9 also, ja? Okay. Prasuti Mishraha Striya Utvigna Chitta Uchur Uvipako Vrijinasyaiva Tasya Yat Pashyantinam Duhritrinam Prayeshaha Sutam Satim Avadhadyavat Anangam Prashuti Mishra Striya Utvigna Chitta Prashuti Mishra Striya Utvigna Chitta Uchur Vipako Vrijinasyaiva Tasya Uchur Vipako Vrijinasyaiva Tasya Yat Pashyantinam Duhitrinam Prayeshya Yat Pashyantinam Duhitrinam Prayeshya Sutam Satim Avadatyaf Anangam Prashuti Mishra Striya Utvigna Chitta Uchur Vipago Vrijinasyaiva Tasya Yat Pashyantinam Duhitrinam Prayeshya Sutam Satim Avadyavanangam Prabhu's. Prasuti Mistra Striya Utvigna Chitta Uchur Vipako Vrijinasyaiva Tasya Prabhu's? Munindra? Yat Pashyantinam Duhritinam Prajesham Mataji's. Prashuti Mishra Striya Utvigna Chitta Uchur Vipako Vrijinasyaiva Tasya Yat Prashantinam Duhritrinam Prajesha Sutam Satim Avatapananam Prashuti Mishra headed by Prashuti Striyaha the women Udvigna Chittaha being very anxious Uchuhu said Vipaka the resultant danger Vrijinasya of the sinful activity Eva indeed Tasya his. Yat, because. Pashyantinam, who were looking on. Duhitrinam, of her sisters. Prajeshaha, the Lord of the created beings, Daksha. Sutam, his daughter. Satim, Sati. Avadadyau, insulted. Anangam, completely innocent. Translation purport by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charnaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Prashuti, the wife of Daksha, along with the other women assembled, became very anxious and said, "This danger has been created by Daksha because of the death of Sati, who, even though completely innocent, quit her body, as her sisters looked on." Purport. That's heavy, huh? Quit her body as her sisters looked on. They didn't do anything. Purport. Prashuti, being a soft-hearted woman, could immediately understand that the imminent danger approaching was due to the inauspicious activity of hard-hearted Prajapati Daksha. He was so cruel that he would not save her youngest daughter, Sati, from the act of committing suicide in the presence of her sisters. Sati's mother could understand how much Sati had been pained by the insult of her father. Sati had been present, along with the other daughters, and Daksha had purposely received all of them but her, because she happened to be the wife of Lord Shiva. This consideration convinced the wife of Daksha of the danger which was now ahead. And thus she knew that Daksha must be prepared to die for his heinous act. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gnanjana Shalakaya Chakshurumalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Garamayam Darati Swaparantikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya. Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya. Vanchakalpataru Vishya Kripa Sindhu Ve Vashapatitanam Bhavanivyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtabhutari Srimati Karambakana Samiti Namni. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtabhutari Gurudashaya Dvaita Samaniti Namni. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtabhutari Srimati Bhaktivedanta Samaniti Namni. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nevishesha Sunjavari Paskachari Desha Tarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we're hearing here of Prashuti, the wife of Daksha. Nein, das habe ich da hingelegt. The wife of Daksha, who was very anxious. Of course, why? Because her daughter, her youngest daughter, had committed suicide. So anybody would be very anxious what's happening. But not only that, she also understood that imminent danger was coming, because the husband of her daughter was none other than Shiva. And Shiva is known to be very easily satisfied and very easily angered. So just imagine his wife committed suicide because somebody offended her. So naturally he became very angry. And Shiva being angry, he is, usually when he becomes very angry or very excited, he starts to dance. And then the whole universe starts to fall apart, and he says, later, next verse we'll hear, it's pretty brutal. So he's acting very very powerful. And so Prashuti felt very sorry and felt very anxious and said, "Oh my goodness, how could we have allowed such a thing to happen?" And it seems, if we are a little critical here of the text, we can see that Prashuti herself also didn't stop her daughter. I mean, she also looked on. Maybe because she was so much under the pressure of her husband not to act, but also she didn't react. So nobody reacted. Nobody stopped Sati from committing suicide. I mean, they could have taken a bucket of water, like but nobody did anything. And thus they all committed, whoever was there, whoever was present and didn't stop this act of suicide is also culpable of this act. They also have the same, they also get the reaction. So, and naturally she understood probably she was going to interact in a very strong way. And that's what's happening, and this is what we're hearing, that Virabhadra is appearing. So now I want to focus on this part that Shiva becomes angry. So when does Shiva become angry? He usually becomes angry when he's angered, but also at the end of when the time for dissolution is there, then he's becoming very ferocious, and everything is being destroyed. So destruction happens in due course of time. We have always three aspects of time: creation, maintenance, and destruction. And this is all parts of this material world. We are having creation, the residing deity of creation is Brahma, then we have maintenance, Shiva, and then we have destruction, Shiva. So, and when everything is due to perish, then Shiva appears in his form of destruction. So then I want to go to the topic of why time? How is time influencing us? So Krishna also has a certain aspect of time, which is, there's a very famous quote in the Bhagavad Gita, which was quoted by none other than Oppenheimer. Everybody knows Oppenheimer? Yes, so now, those who know, there's also now a blockbuster in the cinema, Oppenheimer. Everybody knows about that. And when we distribute books, so for Sankirtan devotees, there's a big, here it's not, but in the German version, there's a quote from Oppenheimer, because he was German, and about, he's quoting, glorifying the Bhagavad Gita. And so we can nowadays go on the streets and quote, because everybody knows about Oppenheimer. So famously it said that everybody was sitting there, and the great scientists, there was the first trial of the atomic bomb in the US, and they had it in the desert, very, very far away, of course. But we were all sitting there in the chairs, and then we're looking on that, and it was like, this moment was happening. It's like such a huge explosion. You must imagine what the kind of explosion it is. You see this huge, you see the photos, and this mushroom, and then this shock wave which comes. So this atomic bomb exploded, and then Oppenheimer quoted this verse. So which one is it? Let me look it up. Yeah, 32. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, from the 11th canto, the universal form. Kalosmi lokakashya krit pravridho lokam samahartum iha pavritta ritepi tvam na bhavishyanti sarve ye vashishta pratyanikekshu yodaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Time I am, the great destroyer of the worlds, and I have come here to destroy all people. With the exception of you Pandavas, all soldiers here on both sides will be slain." So Oppenheimer quoted the first part, focusing on time I am, the great destroyer of the worlds. So time is so fierce, it doesn't spare anybody. Nobody is spared from the supreme influence of time. And why not? Because Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, is representing time. Time I am the destroyer of all three worlds. So time is happening. It is the main foundational principle of this material universe. So we have the unmanifested matter, which is yet about to be manifested. It is there in a potent, unmanifested form, and then time is given with the glance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to move and give the first action within this material world. So in this time, the glance of the Mahavishnu is considered to be time. And this time is happening within, one can define time as the movement within space. If there's no movement, if there's nothing happening, it's inert, then it's unmanifested, nothing is happening. So we see in this material world, there's a famous quote from Heidegger, German physicist and philosopher. His book is very famous. It's called Sein und Zeit, time and being. So what is actually existing? We are perceiving something, but as we are perceiving it, it's already decaying in its existence. It means it is already actually not almost there. It's like the famous quote, you want to step into a river, but are you able to step into the same river again? No, because it's always flowing. So similarly, all this material world is flowing. If you sit for a minute and just look at all the matter which is happening and which is moving, vibrating in its own way, there's not a moment which can be replicated. It's not a moment which is same in another time. So time is like a constant flow, like a river, and all existence is flowing through time. And this time, which is a very interesting concept, is we have an action, we have a past, what happened, an action, and then the future, what is going to happen. And we can know very well what happened in the past, but we don't know so well what is going to happen in the future. But we can know what we're doing now. And by our actions now, we can influence what is going to come. And of course, we can also influence what will have happened. Hare Krishna. We can influence what will have happened because we're acting right now, and thus we are also influencing the past. Shri Shri Pralakshmi Bhagavan Ki Jai. So thus, we can see that our action, our being, we are only existing at this very same moment, and we cannot exist in the future, we cannot exist in the past, but our mind can exist in the future or in the past. So we can think of actions that we want to do. If we are very passionate, this is a sign of passion. We're thinking, and I like to think like this, what will I do? I want to do this, I want to do that, and we have a big plan. This is passion. And then we have the past, which is usually ignorance. Now we're lamenting, we think, oh, I could have done it that way, would have been much better. If I would have said this, then I would have been so happy. If I would have taken this turn or that turn in my life, this would have been much better. But actually, we realize that this is only ignorance. So if we dwell too much in the past, we're in ignorance. If we are too much in the future, we are in passion. So if we are in the present moment, we can start to act in our devotional life. And also we can start to act actually in a devotional way, because how can you show your love? How can you show your appreciation for the holy name, for the Lord, except when you're actually doing the service that you're doing right now? If you're not able to do the service that you're doing right now, you're not actually doing it. You're just somewhere else. It's like when you're chanting, you're thinking, I will wash the pots and then I will do this and I will do that. And are you chanting or are you washing the pots? You're doing nothing. You're just sitting there and wasting your time. Okay, we're never wasting our time chanting the holy name. But it's like, it's not that potent, it's not that powerful. So if we're chanting and we're actually chanting, then it's very powerful. Or we're doing the puja, we're dressing the Lord. And then we're thinking, oh, I'm gonna do this and that, and we're distracted, or we're cooking for the Lord and we're thinking of something else. I like cooking because I cannot be too much distracted. I need to focus on the subject and the rice, and everything is needs to be turned off in the right time. It burns, and so you need to be on it. So therefore, I like cooking. And so generally, service or any action that we do, we must be there. Or if we go on book distribution, or we go on working, we chant, we make our puja. Whatever service we do for the Lord, if we're actually there at this right moment, the service can have a very deep impact in our life. And the interesting thing, nothing else will change if we think about it or if we don't think about what we want to do in the future. Usually we think like, yes, I'm going to think about this and I will do like this, and then afterwards, anyways, after japa, you forget most of it. Really, like all your thoughts after japa, when you put your japa away after 16 rounds, will you remember what you thought about this service? And anyway, you won't remember. So what is the use of letting your mind go there? There's no use. So therefore, just do what you're doing, but do it in the right way. And that is actually one of the sicknesses of our time. They're doing many things, but we're not doing them proper. we are doing on a superficial level and not going really deep. And thus, it's also said, I'm quoting Bhagavan Kesha Maharaj, and he says, he's saying that in the first years of your life, from the age when you go to school, actually also from birth until you exit school until 18, the age and your wisdom, the knowledge that you have is proportional, because you go to an education system, you learn, and the more elder you are, you can say like a 10-year-old is much more wiser than a 5-year-old. That's very clear. Or a 12-year-old knows more than a 10-year-old. But from 18 or 25, he says, onwards till 80 or 60, it's not anymore proportional, because you don't have a systematic educational system, but also you don't have you don't have this qualitative experience. Now it's up to you to see and learn about what you're experiencing in life. You may experience so many things, but actually you might not be experiencing them. Why? Because you're not really aware of it. You just might live through it. Now if you're impassioned or you do things, you do, and then after 10 years of book distribution, you think like, what did I do? After 10 years of this and that, what did I do? So therefore, the quality of time that you use, so this time which is again happening in the same time for those two people, might be completely different for the one who is looking at it very precisely and reflecting also on it, on his actions, what he did, also what he did right, what he did wrong, but reflecting on, not in a ignorant way, that you reflect and you're like, oh, I would have done, but okay, what can I learn from this so that I can act now better? And if you live in such a way that you actually are conscious of what you have done and you act in the future in a positive way, then you actually have the greatest dynamic and you can actually act in a most efficient way. Thus a person who is 25-year-old or 30-year-old can have much more wisdom than a person who's like 80-year-old or 60-year-old. Because he's very conscious. You're conscious of what you're doing. And this is what we find sometimes here in this material world. Many people are just acting for maintaining themselves. They're acting to maintain their families and create the jobs. Yesterday we went to this children's party at the Yandasbrunn Lake, and we saw how people were acting. I saw some of my old classmates with whom I went to school here. And then I saw them and I thought like, what are they doing, you know? What is their level of wisdom? What is that what they have now? What treasures have they gathered throughout this time? And I realized they just have been going with the flow. You know, just going with the flow of whatever comes in their life, and they just want to maintain themselves, and that's enough for them. But I have had the great fortune to be able in such a community where we are reflecting, where we are thinking, where we are thinking about life. What is the use of all of this life? Why are we acting like this? Why are we doing like that? And then you can have a much greater quality of life in itself, much greater quality of awareness, and use your life that you have, the time that you have, in a very wise way. So this is very important, that we use the time that we have allotted to us in a most efficient way. And we don't waste it, because whatever is gone is gone. You cannot turn it back around. You cannot live your 20s anymore. But if you dedicate, especially as a devotee in an ashram, you're in the temple and you dedicate 10 years of your life in the ashram. Any grihastha whom you ask, what is the best time of your life? Say, yeah, when I was brahmachari, when I was in the ashram, when I was there. And it's beautiful, because you're free from all worries. You can just focus on that. And it's a very nice time. But also even this time, if you don't live very consciously and reflect about what you have done, what you learn out of it, it will be not as substantial as it could be. And it also can be very superficial. So it's up to us so that we use the time that we are here in a very powerful way. And then time can become our friend. And that's another thing. Here, the Supreme Personality of God in the Bhagavad Gita verse says, time I am the great destroyer of the worlds. I've come here to destroy all people. So I'm going to destroy everybody. It says, with the exception of you, the Pandavas, all soldiers here on both sides will die. So time can become our friend. And how is time our friend? Because a devotee is always in connection with Krishna. And he is, in the end, if he's acting in devotional service, and if he's satisfied in the service, he's having some taste, some ruchi in his service, in the chanting, reading, glorifying the Lord, then time doesn't matter. What's the use of? Because he has nothing to lose in this world. He's not holding on to beautiful castle, because the castle will crumble away in time. He's not holding on to anything else but the feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is his only refuge. And this lotus feet of the Lord are giving him so much pleasure. Therefore, the devotee makes time his friend. And thus he can feel peace. He's santosh, he's very satisfied. It's like an ocean which goes very, very, very deep. And then further, if the devotee actually takes devotional life very seriously, and he very seriously chants the holy name of the Lord, not only does become his time becomes a friend, it becomes an intimate bond between him and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because any moment that he's not connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he becomes very anxious. And this separation of the Lord, can only happen if you have separation in time. We are about to meet him. We want to meet him. And this is the devotee when he's cherishing real spiritual life, like we have in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Nainam Galata Shruvadanam, Gatkada Rudayagida, Pulakai Nishtitambo Bukada, Tavanama Grahani Bhavishyati. When only will the day come when by chanting your holy names of the Lord, my voice will choke up. Tears will flow from my eyes and my hairs will stand on end. So when only will this day come? This is what we are wanting. This is why we are sitting here. And the devotee is crying for this opportunity. So time seems to be his enemy. But actually, just having this meditation that I want to have this experience in my devotional life. I want to chant the holy names in such a pure way. Time becomes his friend, because this time in which he's going wanting to chant is making him ecstatic. It's already ecstatic, just that you realize, I want to have that so much, you're so eager. Already this desire is almost bringing this ecstasy also to him. Just hearing this verse, because we're also yearning within, we're yearning for this pleasure to be connected with the Supreme Lord. If we little feel into this verse, we can understand what satisfaction is in the chanting of the holy name, really. And we're yearning to have one day this pure name in our tongue, chanting the Supreme Lord, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So the Supreme Lord is dancing in our tongue, and we are chanting the 16 names, the Maha Mantra, and it's becoming more and more and more and more and more. And it's not only the name which is there, it's like space is relative actually to our perception. And we could perceive then the holy name as not only within our mouth, but our mouth be ever expanding and engulfing the whole world. Just imagine when you're chanting Hare Krishna, and then the whole world starts to vibrate with the holy names of the Lord. Why? Because the holy name is in itself so powerful, and Krishna is beyond the space, beyond only the name, beyond any form. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he can be in this holy name. So then the next step further is the next verse of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, where we are chanting and saying, Yugaitam nimishena chakshusha pravishaitam shunyaitam jagat sarvam govinda vidahename. That I have seen the Lord, oh Lord Govinda, in separation of you, one moment seems like millions of years, like a whole yuga. And in your absence, the whole universe seems void and meaningless. Yugaitam nimishena seems completely useless. So the bhakta, the devotee, is praying, when only will I see you again? In your absence, one moment, which is just very short, isn't it? When you're suffering a lot, isn't it? When you're suffering or something is really hurting, one moment might seem so long. But for the devotee, time expands so that actually he can perceive more and more this nectar of separation. It's not any more pain. We might think, obviously, if we hear of separation, but the separation and love and service to Krishna is actually an ecstasy. It's a satisfaction of the soul. It gives you nourishment. It gives you deep taste of the holy name. It's just ecstatic. You cannot describe it in words. So this is the power of the bhakti, when he really goes into it, then time becomes his friend. And thus, also we see the gopis, when they did the rasa dance, they were not only just for one night. It's described that the whole night expanded like a day of Brahma. And that's a very long time. So this is the nature of rasa. And therefore in the spiritual world, it's not, time and space is not driven, or the sphere or the existence there is not bound by time and space, but it's bound by rasa. Because rasa is the main principle of Krishna's pastimes. That's why he has come here, to show us this amazing taste that we can experience in serving him. If we remember Krishna's pastimes, they're so sweet. If we go into all these little details, if we remember his qualities, his cuteness, his charming ways, the bhakti becomes captured. And thus we have a little glimpse of what it actually is to be in eternal association with the Supreme Lord, in a sphere, in an existence where we're not bound by material normalities which we have here of time and space and movement. We're not bound by any of that, but we're actually only bound by rasa. So this is the supreme quality of time, which is, for the materialist, it's an enemy, because he will lose everything. In due course of time, to any atheist, in the end, Krishna will come and, no, it's finished, death, You need to give up everything, surrender everything, and then you need to go away. So anybody in this material world will experience time, and the karmis will experience it in this heavy way as the force which is taking everything away. But the devotee is seeing time as that which is bringing him to Krishna, because we're going more and more closer to Krishna if we use our time in Krishna consciousness. So we should use our time properly. Hare Krishna. Are there any questions or comments on this topic? Oh, Ramananda. From the altar directly. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds so easy what you say. Just take your mind and just think of what you're doing, and sounds all logical and reasonable, but still we can't do it. So what's the trick to take our mind, to capture our mind? Because even Arjuna says in Bhagavad Gita, to capture the mind is as difficult to capture the wind. So how we can, what you say makes all sense, all nice, but how you do it?
Okay, how to capture the mind. Thank you very much for the question. This is an eternal question of the mind, which is so flickery and jumping here and there, how to capture it. So my meditation I like to do is things like that we understand what is the use when I chant japa and I remember things I want to do, or my mind drifts away. I realize really honestly, what will you remember in the end of your japa? It's no use of thinking of all that nonsense. Just come back and chant the holy names. Chant, and then you chant a few mantras, and actually, isn't it, when you chant a few mantras nice, you think, what I've been doing all this time, let me chant more. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. And then it becomes so powerful, so ecstatic. It's like, it's amazing, because you are there in the moment. The same thing if you first come to the temple, you eat prasadam, you do kirtan, it's so powerful, you're there at the moment. You're not like thinking about your next thing or that thing. So it is difficult. And it's like it will take time, and this is also another factor we have. It will take time. Practice. Sadhana means we practice it day by day and day, and time will mold our mind. Like this, a dictionary definition from the Stanford Dictionary, and it says time. Time is used to convey that something is now happening or about to happen or should have happened earlier. So time is a concept of actions and things happening in a certain order. But then if we use it as a verb or noun, the continued process of existence as affecting people and things things are getting better as time passes. So time is also a concept that time passes and it's affecting us. So in due course of time, it's like all wounds are healed by time, we can say. So some things might happen to us and time will take it away, or it will become softened. But same acts for the sadhaka, for the person who wants to achieve Krishna's lotus feet. In due course of time of chanting and chanting and chanting and chanting the holy names of the Lord, what will be in your mind? The holy name. It's like said, this example, they have this glass of colored water and you put clean water inside. The more clean water you put, in the end it will be just clean water. But of course, as I said, the actions that we do must be of a quality that we are aware of. We're not that we just unconsciously just process all of these actions, but the more we are aware we are of our actions, the more powerful we are. But then again, so time as a sadhaka is our friend, and then we have a nice, how is this, like in projects, when you do temple projects or any business, then you have a strategic planning. What means strategic planning? You have a vision. We want to be the most, like shoe company. Every household should have an Adidas shoe in their home. That's their vision, you know? And then they have the strategic planning, means what are the steps to get to that point? Okay, so first we need to have a very good advertisement. Then we need to have a very nice shoe. We get this and this designer. Then we do this, and then in 5 years we do that. And in 3 years you break it up, like in 5 year, 2 year, and like this. You have a whole section. So for us, we have a rough breakdown of this process given in the Madhurya Kadambini by, let me not be wrong, please correct me, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Vaishnava Chakravarti Thakur, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur comments on it also? No, doesn't. Okay, Vaishnava Chakravarti Thakur. Okay, Vaishnava Chakravarti Thakur. And in this Madhurya Kadambini, the 9 processes, the 9 steps of devotional service are given. Is it 9? Stages, yeah, stages. Is it 9? Yeah, it's 9, yeah. So, and it starts with Sadhusanga, Bhajana Kriya, Shraddha, Sadhusanga, Bhajana Kriya, and then Adana Nivritti, and then comes Nishta, and then comes Ruchi, and then comes Bhava, Ashakti, Bhava, and Prema. So, I'm not good with orders. But you have these 9 steps, and this is like your life planning. It should not be just like you read a book, it's like, wow, that's nice, that's exciting. No, this is our vision. We have our vision there. It's like we have this flag there, that's our vision, that's our target. We want to go there. And then we have certain steps that are in the way. And that we will take one after the other. So we should have this as and I recommend everybody to read the book. It's a very beautiful book. And Satyananda Maharaj has made a very nice translation by it. His Holiness Satyananda Maharaj. So we can plan our life like this. We can see that even though we think we might be stuck in one point, it is not like that. Because sometimes spiritual life, His Holiness Satyananda Maharaj says, it's also sometimes like a circle, like a spiral. We might think, oh, I have been there already, but actually we're one level up instead of at the same place. We're going up, and sometimes it might seem we're regressing, but actually we are just seeing from a higher perspective. And actually, if you look honestly back in your spiritual life, you can see that you have seen things in a different way before. And if you look now at your views of your devotional life or of what Krishna Prema is, you realize, yeah, it's true. I have developed. I now see it in a more mature way. I see devotional service in a different way. I see devotional service as a more wholesome thing. And this view of devotional service becomes more and more. And His Holiness, my spiritual master, His Holiness Kadamba Maharaj, he always was giving Bhakti Shastri courses on the nectar of devotion. And also these processes are described there. And he says that it is like, the analogy is given like you're in a boat. And in the boat, you're in the boat, and the boat is in the ocean of material existence. And the boat which is in the ocean of material existence has somewhere, there's a far island, sometimes you see very far, small, there's like Krishna, it's the island of Prema. And it's very far, but we have it in view. We know we want to go there, we're rowing there. And the more we advance in devotional life, then we still have all this noise of material existence, desires, and they're there. But we are focused on that one. And then it becomes bigger. And then becomes so big that our main vision is still this devotional life, but we still have some noise behind us. Some noise is still happening. And then becomes even bigger where we have all that we can see is only prema, but we're still in the ocean of material existence. And then the more we progress, we will be then in the end, even though we are in the ocean of material existence, we still will be completely in the spiritual world, because we just know Krishna, we only see Krishna, and we just swim in an ocean of devotion service. And it is said even until bhava, until the point where you have like the second last stage, before prema, still there is a tinge of a small noise of this material world. Still you will hear this material world happening. And Srila Prabhupada said that his disciple, Yamuda Devi, she has bhava, for example. And if you read her biography, it's an amazing biography. But as you see, she's not like flying on the sky. It's not something which is very, very hard to reach. It is possible to reach such a state. It is possible. And then sometimes you might think, oh, I'm so far away. But actually, you know, as a devotees, even if our mind is just distracted, it's still distracted. Oh, I need to do the kavachas. I need to do the yakya. I need to do the kitchen. I need to do load the van. I need to put water inside. I need to do this. I need to change. I need to shower. You have so many things that you think about, but they're mainly all focused around Krishna. It's like Mother Yashoda also. She's taking care of Krishna, but she's thinking of the milk which is falling over. So we are already like, Krishna is still there, even though our distractions are there, which is not perfect, but still they're Krishna conscious. So it's in a good way. And the more we engage in devotional life, the more everything will be centered around Krishna. And there's nothing else in our life which will be away from that. And therefore Prabhupada also says, all my disciples are pure devotees, because only time is separating us. Again, we have the element of time which is separating. So don't be discouraged, even if you think, oh, I'm not such a pure devotee, I've chanted for 20 years, and I don't feel anything. It is happening. You might not notice it, but actually your attachment to Krishna is so strong, and it's becoming stronger and stronger. Every day that you chant one more round, every day that you take another pearl, your attachment to Krishna is becoming stronger. Hare Krishna. Any other more questions, comments? Yeah. Balaram Pram Prabhu.
Thank you. Very nice points. I would just like to reflect on 2 points, if you allow me. Maybe a question comes up at the end, but just for me to process all this information. And I also remembered when Ramananda Gopal Prabhu asked the question, like you practically mentioned the remedy at the beginning, how to control the mind. So what does it mean that the mind is uncontrolled, that it's either in the past or in the future? But you said at the beginning, actually, passion is in the future, ignorance, tamas is, the mind is dwelling in the past, but sattva gun, the mind is in the present. So for me, the simple answer sounds like just be in sattva gun, and your mind will be more or less concentrated on what you're doing now, your service or your chanting and so on. And then later you mentioned, this is actually what I want to ask.
We can first reflect on this point and then we can go to the next one.
You want to say something about this?
Yes.
Please.
And sattva guna. Sattva guna helps very much to be not distracted. And but it's not the only one. It's like the second one. The second point is taste in devotional life, and that's therefore I reflected before on this point that the more we develop in devotional life, the more taste we will have. And because there where our taste is, there our mind will go. So if we have more taste for Krishna, it's like, I want that. There's nothing else that you want. And then point, it's like you're chanting and your distraction is Krishna. There's nothing else. Like you're thinking of this very beautiful verse you read yesterday. It's like, oh, the beautiful pastime of Prabhupada, how kind he was to his devotees. And it's like, it's touching your heart. And this is your distraction. Because you have so much taste for it. But if you have so much taste for ice cream and nonsense out there, okay, ice cream can be also prasadam. but you have so much other tastes that are not connected to Krishna, then what is the use of it? And even Prabhupada says, like, you say money, but Prabhupada says, give me millions, I will spend it all for Krishna. So it's like, you can have it for Krishna, but but the main thing is that you have taste. You should have taste for Krishna, not taste for the material thing underlying it, The taste is in doing it for Krishna, not in having the money or in doing the activity or in doing this or in doing that, but in actually you're offering to Krishna. So I think Sattva Guna is one thing, but it's not that I need to become a Brahmana and everything needs to be right, I need to mop the ground and now I can chant Hare Krishna, and I need to focus and now it's not happening. No, it's like you need to have the taste. And if you have the taste, you might be in any circumstance, like a very tamasic situation also. What is his name? This Babaji who was in the toilet chanting. Vamsidas Babaji. And he was chanting in the toilet. And it's not very suchi. But he didn't want to be distracted by other people. He just was chanting in the toilet. Just imagine you go to the bathroom down there and you find somebody chanting there. Not something I recommend. But he was transcendental. So, but yeah. So it's not the circumstance, but of course we need to develop the taste. That's the main thing, and because then the material situations, as time also comes and goes, they're never perfect. It's never going to be the perfect sattvic situation. That might also be another attachment we have, that we want to be in a sattvic environment. But it can help, like yoga or any other thing. It can help you. Pranayama, it can help you to focus. It's like not being in the past and the present. It's really good to be in a sattvic condition and have the right setup to start. But then the process will go. Okay, next point.
Okay, for me it doesn't sound like it can help, it sounds like a prerequisite. And then if we stop there, then it's of course like stupid. If we stop at the cleanliness and the sattva guna. But for me it sounds, always I understood it as a prerequisite actually to develop the taste.
That's always a thing I have always struggled with, honestly. Because I think it's, you have, for example, you say any spiritual activity is, even if it might look passionate, it is still in sattva guna. And you have book distribution, which is very passionate. You're going to people, talking here, talking there. And those who know me, I was very passionate in book distribution. And it made lots of fun also, I could use my youthful energy in it. And, but, yeah, it might seem that sattva guna is a prerequisite. And then also, pure devotional service is called Shuddha Sattva. So, acting in a spiritual way is already putting you in a sattvic environment. And this is, I think, the question. It's not, we sometimes might see that passionate spiritual activity is not actually completely in sattva guna. And this is our mindset that we have. But also even that needs to be purified from this passion. And if we have only the sattva guna in it, it will be very, very more powerful. And of course, and then you have the other extreme when you're over the sattva guna, like if you distribute in sattva guna the books, then it will be more powerful. Then the people you talk will be like, you can shoot at them, It's like, they will just look at them and then they say, yes, of course, I take the book. Because you're really talking to them. And that's anyway one of the things of book distribution. People understand you're not talking to them because you want to think about already the next person or this or that. But if you're actually talking to the person right now, right there, and you're really concerned about him, they feel it. And they feel really touched because nobody's talking to them like that. Even their wife or their friends or their children, everybody wants something, But you're honestly caring of that person. And they feel very touched and they feel like, yeah, that might be something good for me, this book. So this is another thing. So that's like, it might be we can say it's a prerequisite, but it's like, main thing is that we act in devotional service, even if in the beginning it might be passionate, and then we need to purify it from all the other impurities to be more sattvic, because that will be lasting. That's also the passionate part about, like if I would have continued like this, I could have not continued for a long time. So I need to change my situation where I can be more in a sattvic environment, and then we can continue on in our devotional service. Yeah, is that good? Yes. Thank you. Please.
I give you the mic. headphones, so the online audience
Voraussetzung.
This verse you recited from the Bhagavad Gita.
Yes.
Destroyer, I am the destroyer. Time, I am the destroyer of the worlds.
Yes.
Yeah, this verse was spoken by Lord, a scientist, the inventor of atom bomb,
Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer.
I said it in the beginning of the lecture. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Thank you.
now in India there is a film about this verse.
It's everywhere, all around the world.
Yeah, it's everywhere there. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. That's nice. So when you go on the streets, you can talk, hey, you know Oppenheimer? And everybody say, yes, I know Oppenheimer. So yeah, I have a book, you know, he really liked that book. Look at this one. So you can make the connection. Yeah, it doesn't describe you how to make an atom bomb, but give it to...
Explain something, why did he recite this verse after?
Yeah, I mean, another thing of you see the destructive power of the atomic bomb is that it takes it's such an amazing force. Actually, if you analyze it, you can get the biggest amount of energy out of changing the smallest parts, which is interesting. It's contradictory. You can the biggest amount of energy you get from changing the small atomic parts, having an atomic reaction, and it's inherent and it can destroy so much. So when he saw that power of that, it's overwhelming. It's an overwhelming power, and this power is an aspect of the Supreme Lord because everything is happening. And if we look in nature and we just stand there and look at the nature, how things are happening, you see that things are progressing and decaying. Everything is decaying in due course of time, and you become then detached and you see the beauty of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You can see, some see God in the nature, but if you see such heavy destruction going on, you see the power of the Lord, which is actually, this energy flowing through this material universe. Hare Krishna. Yeah, Mataji.
I wanted to talk about, really quickly, I think you mentioned something about how from the ages of 25 and above, the intelligence is not proportional anymore.
The wisdom or the knowledge.
The wisdom, knowledge, how knowledgeable they are, it isn't proportional. So why do they say that you have to respect the elders? What is that for?
It's it's just a complete myth. No, it's an amazing thing because sometimes, which is interesting, you might see that elderly persons, you might start, if you're not really conscious, that you might not respect them that much because, they're not up to date with the most modern things and science and this. But if you look deep within their hearts, they might have many things which you don't have. Same thing, you're using your time and you're coming in contact with somebody who has experienced a lot of time and wisdom. I mean, they have time, so the possibility that there's a lot of wisdom is very high, first of all. And if you're able to tap to them by showing respect to them, they might feel very compassionate and very nice and give you some wisdom. And so that's the first point. And just in general, one should, nowadays we see why should I give? Nowadays we should think, better to think, why should I not give? No. Nowadays we are very critical, why should I give respect? No, why should you not give respect? Come on, give respect. There's no harm for you to give respect. It doesn't cost you any cent. It doesn't cost you any special humiliation or something. No, it's actually also for your glorification if you respect some elder. And so it's actually very nice to respect elders. Yeah.
Thank you.
Now and then, Prabhu.
On this point, we maybe proportionally increase our knowledge when we're younger. I mean, we collecting. But from one point, where it's at 25, we have to use this knowledge. And by using the knowledge, actually, we come to the realization. And this leads us to wisdom. Because when we're young, we cannot really use our knowledge. Even if we, whatever we learn in school, we all think, what's the use? Right? I mean, it was for me, what's the use? But later on, I saw I could use really something what I learned. And then at this point, for example, chemistry was for me always like something what the heck, you know, what the heck, you know. So, but then later on, when I worked, I could see, I can use it actually, and then I realized actually the things what I learned. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and this is a process where actually wisdom builds up, and therefore for the wisdom we respect. The thing is nowadays wisdom is not cultivated anymore, and therefore it's hard to respect elderly people because they don't have wisdom, they just have time, the time factor on the back, what is running out basically. And this is this was to this point, and then what you said about you know, this Oppenheimer thing and atom bomb and something like that, because you know what Krishna says, I am the destroyer of the whole world with wit. What is his weapon?
Time.
It's time, yeah. And in the you know, that's such a great, even more powerful than an atom bomb. But I'm not an atomic scientist, but time and the atoms, they have a connection. You know what I mean? We measuring time, actually, the basis of measuring time is how long an atom, specific atom is
how long it takes an electron to come to the other side of the atom.
So, you know, the element of time is very much implemented in the smallest part of the nature, what you said, or in the material world. You know, so this powerful element is
It's
there.
most powerful, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's actually, it's that which is setting matter in motion. It's like time is the definition, action within space or movement within space. And so whatever movement, it's the most powerful thing we have here. There's nothing more powerful than time. And it is something, scientists, you know, like have this great idea. We will make time travel, we will control time. No, it's not possible. It's only the direction of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
And what this Oppenheimer said, actually, that was a very deep realization. And all of them, the scientists in this time, you know, Einstein, or all of the, you know, the much more, Einstein is just the most known one, but there were so many really who worked on this aspect and where all the quantum physics and stuff came from. So it's really, it's an amazing deep topic, and I think our daughter is quite into this.
We talked a lot about this, yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's, I think it's a very deep aspect actually. It's not that just, time I am or something like that. So there's a wisdom behind.
Yeah, it's also if we want to meditate on the Supreme Lord and not, we can go very much in deep in these topics and read or listen to all the scientists in Oppenheimer, but also Heidegger wrote a lot about this, and then Wittgenstein. It's all very interesting how they see matter and how it's evolving and in relationship to the observer also. It's not something static. Even within this material world, you might think everything is static, but it's very dynamic. It's not something you can just put it in boxes. And time and existence in itself is fluid, depending on the observer. But we can also see this factor of time. Krishna's weapon, the chakra, is to refer to the time weapon. So the Sudarshan chakra, which is like a circle, it's coming and going, it's coming, it's a circle, it's always going in circles. So this time is also controlled. So chakra is controlling time. So when we take darshan of the Lord, we see the Sudarshan chakra. This is referring to the time.
And one thought comes again to my mind. Time is the most valuable thing, even more valuable than money or gold, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Because it's so powerful, and therefore they say time is cash, right?
Yeah.
But the devotee, he uses this very powerful element to serve Krishna, to give his time to Krishna. And this makes Krishna so much indebted. And you know, of course, sometimes we have to, maybe our consciousness is not right there where it should be, but at least the devotee tries.
Yeah, at least we're offering time. Yeah, that's
he
the
offers
point.
the time.
That's what we have. We have at hand. We can have the action, and within this space of or time frame,
Yeah.
we can offer it to Krishna. So we have, even if we just offer our time to Krishna, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's powerful. And then if we do the action itself also very consciously, it's like boom, it can change our lives. So it's really depending on yourself how powerful you live and then actually when you live like that, that's the interesting thing. The more powerful you are in your spiritual life, the more you will have an impact on the whole surrounding. Not only whole surrounding, the whole world. Because if one person is powerfully spiritual, this will resonate with all his surroundings. And therefore it's actually such a powerful center, and people come here and they say like, wow, a temple, it's so powerful. When we're in here, we might not realize, oh yeah, it's normal. But if people from outside, like I live in Jandaspur, and we come here, it's like, it's a powerhouse. It's a powerhouse of spiritual life. We're the electricity pole, spiritual electricity pole of the whole area. And it's very, very powerful what we're doing, giving our time and our actions for Krishna. So, and like Prabhupada said, don't waste time, use it for Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Thank you.